artists, today I am experimenting, and I want to encourage you to experiment too, and here's why. Experimenting is the way that we learn. It is freeing, it's inspirational, it's joyful. I have learned so much just from saying, hey, this is an experiment. In fact, a lot of times whenever I start a painting, I just try to get the idea that that painting is an experiment for me. And when I do, then I'm freer to try different things. And so what if it doesn't work? But 9 times out of 10, you know what happens? It turns out really good because I'm feeling free. I'm feeling the joy. I'm feeling the happiness. I've got all the circuits open in there. And it turns out well. Or I learn a cool new technique for the next painting. So I want to encourage you, especially as a beginner, to think of this as a grand, joyful experiment and adventure. I want you to learn what's right for you. That is a lot of what art is. It's trying to figure out what's right for you. So maybe some of you are thinking that this is a waste of materials. Well, I want to ask you, first of all, I want to put it in perspective. Would you think that a school workbook for a student that's going to get filled in, written in, and then thrown away at the end of the year would be a waste of materials? Of course not. That student learned so much by working on that workbook. It wasn't a waste of materials. Well, these materials are your workbook. You're going to learn so much, you're going to have so much fun, and it's going to be so great. And by the way, you're going to find your style that way. Today, I'm experimenting for myself, and I wanted to share with you, I am going to make my own surface today. Why am I going to make my own surface? Because the one that I have found that truly inspires me and motivates me is really expensive. So I'm going to try to see if I can make a surface very similar that doesn't cost as much. So that's what we're going to do today. And so what I have here is some mat board. It's 16 by 20. It's white. It's super cheap. It's a super cheap kind, but it is going to be archival. And, oh, by the way, it has 2 sides. I noticed when I opened it last night, this side is like smoother, and this side is slicker, if that makes sense. And I've been told to use the back, but I don't know which is the back. I'm thinking that the smoother side would be the front, but it doesn't have a lot of texture like I've seen in some other mat boards, so I'm going to put it on this side today. I'm also going to be using the some clear gesso. This is really cheap kind, Art Basic. I have some more on order from Liquitex. I hear it's a little bit better, and I don't have a whole lot, so we're going to be hoping it spreads over this whole thing. I have a little bit of matte medium that I might throw in if I'm thinking I don't have enough, and I have pumice stone, which I ordered just off Amazon. You can order pumice stone. In different grades. I kind of just chose and hoped. And I also have marble dust, also known as calcium carbonate, that I'm going to be adding in to the gesso to give me the grit that I need to hold my pastels. I'm going to be using just a nice foam roller brush, you know, one of the cheap ones from the store, to put it on. I'm going to tint my color and probably extend it a little bit with this acrylic paint that a precious student gave me. It's probably, you know, the super cheap kind, and I don't care. It was the thought that counts, and acrylic is acrylic, so it's going to work fine. I'm going to use yellow because I want to paint a lavender feel on this, and lavender is lavender. And its opposite, its complement, is yellow. So I'm going to use that yellow for that. And here's my water that I'm going to use to smooth it all out. And this is the expensive stuff that I found really motivates me. It's pastel board. Oh, I don't know, that light's showing right on that. Pastel board from Ampersand. This is a toned color. And then I also really enjoy the Richeson's pastel surface. I don't actually have that one because I painted on my last piece of it. And I don't buy that stuff because it's super expensive. These are both things that I either won or were gifted to me. And so, but I want to get a surface that's really close to that without being heavy and without being as expensive. So let's get started. I'm going to change the angle of the camera for you so you can watch what I'm doing. So be back shortly. All right, my merry artist tribe, here we go. I don't have very much in this gesso can, so I'm going to mix everything right in here. Like I said, I'm experimenting, so I don't really care how it turns out. This is cheap mat board. This is cheap gesso. Everything's cheap, so I don't care what happens. So I don't know if you can see kind of how much I have in there. Not very much. But I think it'll be plenty to cover that one board, and I have some more on order. All right, so then I am going to add just a tiny bit of this matte medium because I have it. I think I've added it before when trying to prepare my own surfaces, and maybe I read about that or saw it on a video or something, so quickly just going to drop a little bit of that in there. Kind of extend what I have. Oh, I don't know, I put about 1.5 tablespoons in there. And then I am going to add some marble dust, the calcium carbonate. It's funny, it says on here, it says lowers acidity in wine, 1/2 teaspoon per gallon before a fermentation. Okay, so I'm not making wine, I'm making pastel surface. All right, and the reason I'm using the 2 different grits is just for experimentation. I just want to know how it turns out. I'm putting, about 1 tablespoon of that in there as well. And then I have the pumice, which is a 2F grade medium. I don't know what that means, but it means that's the grit. And it feels gritty, you know, like really fine sand. Let's have, I don't know, 1 tablespoon of that as well. And you can tell I'm not actually measuring that, so it is entirely up to you how much you put in. This is experiment day. And, well, I should have opened this little piece, this little thing of, oh look, I can just take the lid off. All right. And just a dribble of that yellow. I don't want it to be super bright. I just want it to tone the paper. And I'm going to add a little bit of water to make sure everything mixes in well. I don't want to add too much or it'll be too wet and make the board warp. Let's see if I can get that all stirred up together. I don't want it to be too thick because I don't want over much texture. And so, yep, I'm going to thin that down a bit. I'll show you, it's pretty gloppy at this point. So I'm just going to take the lid off of this and pour it in. Maybe 2 tablespoons worth. Oh yeah, that's more like a paint. Oh yeah, that's starting to, yeah, look good. I'm hoping it'll be nice and smooth. So I'm going to give it a few more swirls. All right. No hesitation, no hoping it's right. We're just going to do it. That's the nature of art experimentation. It does look still a little bit lumpy. There's just little, I don't know if you can see that. But, you know, we're just going to do it. I don't mind some randomness. I just don't, and I have experimented with randomness. It's just that for this piece, I don't want that. I'm just gonna, here we go. All right, let's see what happens. We get in here and start rolling it around. Ooh, that's really gritty. We are back, and I'm super thrilled to show you this painting. I'm going to do a little video of it later so you can get a really good look at how the texture worked and how everything turned out. But I really liked making that surface. It was a little too textured for me, and so next time I'm going to try a different recipe. Maybe not put in the pumice or not put in the marble dust, and make sure the mixture is super smooth before I put it down. There were a couple of really tough bumps to get over, and so I was really happy with my experiment, though. I think I can get to the point where it's very exciting for me and motivating surface for me, and cheaper than the other. This surface was motivating for me. It just took a lot more like finger blending than I usually do. I try to avoid that. So if you have any questions about experimenting and or about the surface that I used, please put it in the comments down below. I'd love to have your questions, and I'll try to be right on answering them. If you want to suggest another video, feel free to do that as well. I'm just so thankful that you're here watching today to enjoy the experience of experimenting with me. It's just one of my favorite things to do, and I want to encourage you to go out and experiment too. And I'd love to hear about your experiment, either in the comments below or just email me. Then I'll put that email on the screen, and I'll also put it in the show notes. And you just go ahead and email me, tell me about your experiments, and please enjoy your art. Every time you start another piece, just tell yourself, this is an experiment. It doesn't have to turn out right. I'm going to learn something, and you'll be surprised. I'm super thrilled with this painting. It's really made me happy, and that's part of the deal, is not having that pressure to go through. Hey, I want you to visit my website. That's www.estherljones.com. I'd love for you to email me at estherjones1960@gmail.com. My Instagram handle is at estherljones.com. And same for Facebook. That's where you can find me there. And I would love it if you feel like you got something out of this today, if you enjoyed watching it and you learned something and you're going to take something away from it that's helpful to you. I would love it if you would visit my coffee page, and that will be in the link below, and make a small donation, buy me a coffee so I can go to the International Association of Pastel Societies conference this summer in June. Or, hey, just hit like and share. Share it with your friends, share it with your pastel buddies, and hit like. That's simple, and it's cost-free. So I would appreciate it very much. Go out and experiment.